Okay, welcome out to our Momentum Mindset Monday. Good to see people on our call here today. And a lot of folks have to talk about. So we'll jump right into it on today's discussion. A couple of things that we're going to talk about were this process of having a real estate transaction. So you typically start off with some excitement. I mean, you got a new client you're working with, and it's pretty fun to be able to work with someone new. And there's some excitement and some high energy when you're working with a new client. You got something under contract, you start to move along that pathway, and then it's all coming together. Like things start to work, and this is exciting. And all of a sudden, as things are happening on this end, you start to realize that, maybe there might be some turbulence, and this is not uncommon. So whether you're a brand new agent, you're a seasoned agent, you've been doing this for a little while, I mean, it's not uncommon to run into some sort of turbulence along the way. And when that starts to happen, you start to wonder, okay, now what? And it can be frustrating. And there's a lot of things that can cause the turbulence along the way. And oftentimes the drama is created by others. So you're like working so hard to make things work in this process, but then what you start to find out is maybe somebody did something along the way that made it difficult. Maybe there was something that happened that creates the drama that's happening in the process. And maybe you start to question like, well, all these other people are kind of messing this whole process up. And you start to look at it, it can become pretty frustrating. And there are times that maybe we like create some of the drama that happens, and maybe there's times we start to look at it. We can look at it and say, okay, sometimes there are situations that occur because of either our lack of effort or our unwillingness to step into different parts of this process. But I would say that it's not uncommon to run into different types of drama along the way. And one of the most difficult types of drama is you start to deal with different variations of scenarios where you deal with upset people or difficult people. So let's talk about scenario number one, an upset client. Well, there's different reasons why someone might be upset in the process. Most of the time it's because they're not seeing the results that they're hoping for in the time frame that they wanted. So as they're moving along this path and they're trying to find success, they're frustrated because they're not seeing the results that they were hoping to get. And so as that starts to happen, it's not uncommon for them to lash out. Most of the time, I would say when someone gets really frustrated, they probably voice their displeasure via email because that's the lowest form of communication. So they're going to maybe send an email, or maybe they'll start to talk to other people about how frustrated they are, but they won't bring it to you personally. So what do you do in those situations? Like, what do you do when you're dealing with a client who's really upset? I would say sometimes we over-exaggerate how upset someone is, and so we hesitate stepping into a conversation because we're worried that they're more upset than maybe what they really are. And that dissonance creates more feelings of animosity because we're too separated from the situation. But how do you deal with an upset client? Like, what do you do with someone that's really, really difficult and upset? Or maybe you have another scenario where you're dealing with an upset agent. Maybe you have an agent who the things aren't going well for them. Maybe they're upset because there's some extra drama happening in the transaction. Maybe their client isn't getting the results that they're hoping for. Maybe they feel like the transaction is too one-sided, and so they're lashing out, and maybe they're upset. Maybe the transaction, you're coming up against some dates and deadlines, and maybe your client isn't willing to be accommodating, so now the agent's really frustrated, and now they're upset. Maybe something happened along the way that the results aren't coming together like they thought, and that becomes really difficult too. You have agents that are reaching out and lashing out, and they're really frustrated, and that becomes hard when those scenarios. You've got agents who, I would say it's not uncommon for agents to take on the attitudes and the personalities of the clients they're representing. There are a lot of agents in our industry who feel that fiduciary means that they have to take on the same attributes and characteristics that their clients have to represent them fairly. But that is not the truth. In fact, it's more beneficial if the agent keeps their own personality in the transaction versus trying to mask or mirror the emotional charge that their clients might have. And then scenario number 3, someone dropped the ball. Like, you're in this real estate transaction, so many moving pieces along the way. Like, you're dealing with all these numerous documents and various different organizations and different industries that are all coming together to help with the buying and selling of a home. So you're dealing with oftentimes a lender or a title company or a home inspector or an appraiser, and then also that doesn't even count like all the various moving pieces around your clients when they're trying to get financing put together. Maybe you're waiting for an employer to supply documentation, or you're waiting for verified tax returns. You're waiting for something from the IRS or something from their CPA or something from whatever it is. Like, there's all these different pieces that are all moving together, and then all of a sudden it's not uncommon for something to be dropped along the way. And then that creates more heightened animosity and frustration in this process. And you get some difficult people that you deal with, people that don't want to bend their will to just do whatever you want. And so now you're starting to deal with people on their time frames and their schedules and with their situations. And that becomes really frustrating. That creates a lot of drama. So thought I'd share with you a couple of keys to remember in this process. So number 1, this is real estate. No one's dying. Like, there's no one lying on an operating table that is counting on you to save their life. Like, we're not surgeons, we're not ER doctors, we're not saving people's lives in that sense. And so the pressure in the situation, oftentimes it can feel like life and death, but it's not. It's just real estate. So that's something to keep in mind when you start to look at when you take a step back and realize that I get it. There are very heightened emotions in this process, and it's oftentimes the most expensive transactions that we'll be involved with. But no one's dying in this process. Which leads into number 2, which is just to keep a deep breath. When you're feeling anxious, and you're feeling stressed, and you're feeling like you're backed into a corner, you're backed up against a wall, and you're not sure what to do next, because there will be those moments where you're feeling cornered and you're feeling like you're trapped, or you're feeling like like everyone's against you, or you're in this it's like one versus all type scenario. In those moments, it's critical to gain your breath and to just take a step back and clear your head for a second. Because the thing is, emotion and logic don't coexist. So you get people that are very, very emotional. It's not uncommon, especially in today's market, especially, you have some heightened emotions because homes are not moving as fast. You have sellers whose homes are on the market a little bit longer than in the last several years. You have buyers who are frustrated with the market, with the way interest rates have played out, with the way financing is coming together. Like, there's some frustration built up there. You've got agents who are extremely frustrated because they're not making the money that they might have been used to over the last couple of years. Maybe they put themselves in a financial position where they were used to a certain amount of income and they adjusted their lifestyle accordingly. But now that money isn't coming into their business as easily as it has in the past. And so they're frustrated. And so now you might feel the wrath of that frustration. And that kind of leads into the next phase, which is that you are the conductor. You're the pilot of this process. And I would say now more than ever, the mindset to have is that every real estate transaction you step into, you're conducting this. Think of yourself as an orchestra conductor. Like, you are managing this process. So I had a phone call over the weekend with one of our agents, and she was asking, what's the norm in a transaction? Like, how far is her role to go when she's dealing with another agent and you're dealing with all these different appraisers and lenders and with inspectors? Like, where does her role end and where does the other agent pick up? Because she was frustrated by how the other agent was behaving. And I would say that in every scenario, the mindset you want to have is you want to become a benevolent alpha. Like, I would say that you always want to become the alpha in every transaction, but you want to be very benevolent about it. And what that means is that you're controlling the situation. that you're the one doing a little bit more of the effort than anybody else. You're the one that's leading off in the process, that you're willing to do more work than the other side but potentially is, that you're just one that lead off. And which like kind of plays into this last thought, which is that no one regrets kindness. You leading with an extra amount of kindness and sympathy and empathy will never create regret on your part. So when you're in a transaction with another agent, just be the one who goes the extra mile. You're the one who's going to make sure that everything's like getting done, because you're the one who's going to be going above and beyond. And you'll create a reputation that people want to work with you, because you don't find the line to stop short of it, where you're not finding the line to be able to say, okay, this is my half. Like, think of yourself as someone who's mowing the grass in the front of your house. Like, you can find the exact property line and mow right to it. But if you have to go a little bit over to mow the other neighbor's yard, then you just do that. Like, you're just going to mow a little bit more. You're going to do a little bit extra, because you want to make sure the transaction gets across the finish line. And you going a little bit above and beyond is a game changer. And so as you start to look at these different concepts on here, again, this is real estate. No one's dying in this process. Take a deep breath. And emotion and logic don't coexist. And when we talk about that concept, when your clients are really heightened emotionally, and you're dealing with an upset client or an upset seller or an upset agent, then I would highly encourage you to create some distance. Like, let logic return, and that might mean that you have to circle back the next day. It might mean you have to allow them the evening and a night to be able to sleep and to reset and to be back the next day. So if I'm having a really heightened conversation with someone, then I will do what I need to be able to separate that and say, okay, hey, good conversation. Appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts. Let me kind of stew on this a little bit, and we'll circle back tomorrow and we'll see kind of where we want to go from here. Because I know that with time passing, it diffuses the emotion and allows logic to start to return the situation. But that only happens, the diffusing of the situation only happens if they've had a chance to vocalize and get off their chest or off the top of their minds their issues and concerns. Like, if they're just holding it all in still and it doesn't get vented, then it's not going to go away. Like, it's just it might just be more like a pressure cooker cooking up and getting hotter. And so when someone, they say all that they want to say, they blast out all those different things, the thing to keep in mind is that you're just dealing with their reaction to the situation. And that's often been modeled by how they grew up. It's probably from the household they grew up in. It's probably from their childhood. They've seen how other people handle hard situations, and they're just modeling that. And so just know, when they're having a temper tantrum, good. Let them have a temper tantrum. Doesn't mean you have to have a temper tantrum with them. Like, if your kid was fussing on the floor of a store because you didn't buy some candy for them, doesn't mean you have to get on the floor with them. Just know that there are oftentimes you have people that have temper tantrums in real estate, but doesn't mean you have to get on the floor with them. So I love this thought by Ralph Martin. It talks about difficult people. And I typically don't read a lot of things on here, but I want to share with you some thoughts on this, because I think it really relates well with difficult people. The people whom you find most difficult to deal with can also be your most valuable teachers. For your problems with them are not really due to how they are, but rather how you respond to how they are. Learn to deal successfully with difficult people, and you will learn valuable lessons about yourself. Work to relate positively to difficult people, and you will develop skills that can serve you well in many other challenging situations. People are the way they are. Get past the need to try to change them, past the need to judge or condemn, and look for the value they offer. Sometimes the value is deeply hidden, and when you find it, you found a real treasure. Sometimes something few people take the time to uncover. In every difficult person you encounter, make a point to look past the difficult part and focus your attention on the person part. The other people with whom you interact are mirrors that help you to see things within yourself. With some people, that mirror can be difficult to view, yet when you have the courage to do so, the rewards can be many and great. So know that you're going to be dealing with some difficult people in the future, They're mirrors that can give us some clarity and some perspective. In fact, it can oftentimes like give us a view into a blind spot that maybe we're not even looking at in our own lives. And simply as we wrap this up is that in life, we will always encounter difficult people. Don't allow them to frustrate you or steal your joy. So you have the opportunity to deal with people in all different walks of life as you're working in real estate. You're going to be noticing some easy clients, and those are the people that make you come back again and again, because it's like when you're playing golf, you have that one swing, you're like, okay, that's why I play golf. It's for that one swing today. But you have all the bad swings and all the things that are difficult, and those are the challenging times, but that's what separates this industry from so many, and it separates you from the rest of the pack.